When life feels empty and you can't find a reason to go on the turning point. Imagine this. You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on you. It's early morning, but the sun outside doesn't seem to shine brightly enough to reach you. The room feels cold, even though the windows are closed. The air is thick with an invisible emptiness that wraps itself around you like a suffocating blanket. People are living their lives just outside, laughing, moving, and breathing. But you can't even muster the strength to get out of bed. What's the point? It's a feeling many of us try to avoid, a deep, hollow emptiness that makes everything feel meaningless. But what if that very emptiness, that crushing weight of loneliness and confusion, isn't something to fear? What if it's actually the moment you've been waiting for? What if this is the beginning of something greater than you could have ever imagined? The Buddha once said, "Just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life." This isn't the end, my friend. It's the beginning of your awakening. But before you can begin to understand, you have to feel the darkness. You have to let it in, sit with it, and allow it to teach you what it needs to. Because inside that overwhelming sadness, inside that cold silence, there is a truth waiting to be uncovered. It's in the deep ache you feel, the moment where you question whether it's all worth it. What if I told you that very ache is the opening to something profound? Pain is not your enemy. It's your invitation to step into the light. It's the key to your freedom, your transformation. It's the doorway that leads you back to yourself. But here's the catch. If you're not willing to face the storm, if you're not willing to stop running and sit with your pain, you'll miss it. And the journey won't begin. Are you ready to step through the door? Because this is the moment that could change everything. This is when the real story begins. If you've ever felt lost or empty, or if you're struggling to make sense of life's hardships, this story is for you. Don't turn away. The answers you're seeking might be found in the very emptiness you're trying to escape from. Stay with us. Subscribe to Buddhism in every moment to support our channel so we can continue creating powerful videos like this, offering wisdom, healing, and peace in moments of darkness. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Part 1. The struggle of feeling lost and empty. At times, life can feel like an endless mechanical cycle. Every day we wake up, go through the motions, check off our tasks, and then go to sleep, only to repeat it all the next day. The world moves around us, people are laughing, working, engaging, living, but we stand still, trapped in our own sense of nothingness. It's as though the universe is unfolding in a brilliant, colorful display, but we're caught in a fog that distorts everything. The emptiness inside us becomes a void that no amount of success, material gain, or social approval can fill. There's a deep aching sense that something is missing, yet we can't quite pinpoint what it is. You look at your life from the outside and it seems okay, perhaps even enviable. But inside, something feels wrong, something feels broken. It's like being in a crowded room, yet feeling more isolated than ever. The people around you may be smiling, but you feel invisible, caught in a lonely, endless void. This void is not unique. It's something that many of us experience at various points in life. The troubling part isn't that we feel lost, but that we don't understand the cause of it. We can't point to a specific moment that triggered the emptiness. It's just there, an uninvited guest that has made its home in our hearts. And when we try to find relief, we only find more questions. In these moments of despair, the question arises, what's the point of all of this? When everything around you feels distant and meaningless, when the things that used to bring joy no longer seem to matter, life starts to feel like an exercise in futility. What's the reason for going on when every step forward feels like an empty gesture? Why continue when there's nothing but a void? At some point, we all come face to face with the fundamental human fear that life may in fact be meaningless. We look for meaning everywhere: relationships, career success, personal achievements. But when those things don't fill the void, we are left to wonder, am I broken? Have I missed the point of it all? How do I find a way out of this emptiness? This existential emptiness isn't something new or unique to this generation. In fact, it's been a universal struggle for centuries. The Buddha himself taught that suffering is a natural part of existence. The feeling of emptiness, the feeling of disconnection. These are not abnormalities but parts of the human condition. Life itself, according to Buddhist philosophy, is rooted in the cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth, and within this cycle, suffering is inevitable. It is through suffering that we are given the chance to awaken, to see the world differently, and to connect with something deeper than the surface-level distractions we are so often caught up in. But the beauty of the Buddhist perspective on suffering is that it reframes it. Suffering is not something to be avoided, nor is it a sign of personal failure. Instead, it is a teacher. Pain, whether emotional, physical, or psychological, is not an enemy to be vanquished. It is a catalyst for change, a teacher that comes into our lives to open us up to new possibilities. Rather than pushing it away, we must invite it in, sit with it, and understand its message. This message is simple yet profound. Pain is not a mistake. It is not a sign of weakness or of being lost. It is simply a part of life, a teacher that guides us toward growth. When we embrace pain, we don't allow it to defeat us. We allow it to shape us into something stronger, more resilient, and more capable of finding peace. Much like the desert, which may seem barren and lifeless, pain and emptiness are fertile grounds for growth. The desert doesn't stay barren forever. When the rains come, it bursts into a flourishing oasis. Similarly, within our own emptiness, the potential for renewal and transformation lies dormant, waiting for us to embrace it. It is in the emptiness that we make space for new possibilities to emerge. We often resist emptiness because we fear it, but once we allow ourselves to experience it fully, we find that it can give rise to deep spiritual growth and personal renewal. The key to overcoming this feeling of being lost is to stop running from the emptiness. Instead, we must sit with it, breathe through it, and understand that, while we may not find an immediate solution, the process of sitting with discomfort itself is transformative. The emptiness within us doesn't need to be fixed or filled. It simply needs to be understood. In understanding it, we can begin to see that this void is not our enemy. It is the very space in which we can cultivate our greatest growth. In Buddhist teachings, there's a practice of mindfulness that involves staying present with our feelings, our pain, and our fears. This practice asks us to experience life as it is, without resistance or judgment. By being present with our emptiness, we allow ourselves to truly feel, and in doing so, we open ourselves to the possibility of transformation. The void within us is not empty at all. It is the fertile soil in which the seeds of our growth are being planted. So, when life feels empty, when the world seems distant and meaningless, instead of running from that feeling, let's lean into it. Let it teach us. Let the emptiness open us up to a deeper understanding of who we truly are and what truly matters. Part 2. The beginning of awakening. There's a moment in every person's life when they realize that pain is not the enemy. For some, it comes early, and for others, it might take years. But it comes in one form or another. A sudden realization that feeling lost, confused, or empty is not a curse, but an invitation. It's as though, for the first time, you open your eyes and see that everything you've gone through, the sadness, the loneliness, the heartbreak, has led you here, to a place where transformation can begin. It's in the darkest, most uncertain moments that the light of awareness starts to shine through. Much like the lotus that grows through the muddy waters of a pond, we too can rise from the murkiness of our emotions and emerge into the clarity of true self-awareness. The mud is not a trap, it's the very soil that nourishes the growth of the lotus. It's not that the lotus wants the mud, but it's from the mud that it draws the strength to bloom. And so too does our hardship. The very things that seem to weigh us down become the nourishment for our personal transformation. This realization is the first step toward awakening, understanding that our pain is not something to be avoided, but something to embrace. It is a sign that we are alive, that we are human, and that we have the potential to rise above it. It is the gateway to something deeper than we've ever known. The Buddha, in his teachings on suffering, offered a profound insight into the nature of pain. He didn't view suffering as a punishment, nor as something that could simply be wished away. Instead, he saw suffering as a teacher, one that reveals to us the impermanent, unsatisfactory nature of life. The Buddha's teachings on suffering, what he called dukkha, are not meant to make us feel hopeless. Instead, they are designed to help us see the truth of our own experiences. Suffering, he said, is not an anomaly. It is a part of life. It is universal, and it is through our suffering that we begin to learn what it means to be truly alive. When we look at our pain in this light, we stop resisting it. We stop wishing for it to go away, and instead we ask ourselves, what is this pain here to teach me? The Buddha taught that suffering in all its forms can show us deeper truths about ourselves. It reveals our attachments, our desires, and our illusions. It shows us where we are not free and where we have clung too tightly to things that are fleeting. But more importantly, suffering is a mirror. It shows us our capacity for growth and change. It's through the process of awakening from the illusion of permanence that we begin to see life for what it truly is, a constantly evolving process, full of ups and downs, highs and lows. Life is not a linear path, nor is it a series of neatly packaged moments of happiness. Life is messy, chaotic, and unpredictable, and yet it is also deeply beautiful. It's in the struggle, in the mess, that we uncover our true potential. When we begin to shift our perspective on life's struggles, we realize that they are not signs of failure or evidence that something is wrong with us. Instead, they are opportunities to shed old beliefs, to let go of what no longer serves us, and to reconnect with the deeper aspects of ourselves that have always been there, waiting to be discovered. To understand this, it's helpful to think of life's struggles like a storm. Imagine the darkest clouds rolling in, the wind picking up, and the rain pouring down. At that moment, it can feel like the world is falling apart. But what happens after the storm passes? The sky clears, the air feels fresh, and the world feels renewed. Life's challenges work in much the same way. They may seem overwhelming at first, but they are a necessary part of the process of growth. Just as the storm clears the air, our struggles clear away the confusion and distractions that prevent us from seeing our true path. The beauty of awakening is that we begin to see that these challenges are not obstacles to avoid. They are the very stepping stones that lead us to a greater understanding of ourselves. The pain, the loss, the disappointment, it's all part of the journey. And with every struggle, we gain a little more clarity, a little more peace, and a little more strength. But this shift in perspective isn't always easy. In fact, it's often uncomfortable. It requires us to face parts of ourselves that we've been avoiding, to acknowledge the things that we've been too afraid to confront. It's a process of peeling back the layers of illusion and exposing the raw, vulnerable parts of ourselves that we've tried to hide. But in doing so, we make space for a deeper, more authentic version of ourselves to emerge. Awakening is not about achieving perfection or living a life free of pain. It's about learning to live in the present moment, to embrace all of life's experiences, both the light and the dark, and to find peace in the knowing that everything is constantly changing. It's about finding joy not in the absence of suffering, but in the ability to face it with open eyes, a compassionate heart, and a willingness to grow. And so, the beginning of awakening is not about finding the end of our suffering. It's about finding meaning in the midst of it. It's about understanding that the pain we feel today is not permanent, and that through it we can find our way back to ourselves. Part 3. Understanding suffering in a new light. There are few aspects of life that evoke such universal and powerful responses as suffering. It is the uninvited guest at every door, the shadow that stretches long across our days, the companion we wish we could escape but cannot. For many, suffering is seen as a punishment, a cruel, unrelenting force that comes to tear apart the fabric of our lives. It is something to be feared, avoided, and, if possible, erased from existence. But what if suffering isn't a punishment at all? What if it is, in fact, a necessary part of our spiritual journey? What if the pain we experience is not a sign that something has gone wrong, but rather a sign that something deep inside of us is waking up. This shift in perspective can transform the way we approach every hardship, every challenge, and every moment of pain we face. The Buddha, in his teachings on suffering, introduced the concept of dukkha, a word that doesn't merely mean pain, but the inherent dissatisfaction and impermanence that exist within every aspect of life. The Buddha didn't sugarcoat the truth. He didn't promise that life would be free from hardship, nor did he tell us that suffering could be avoided. But he did offer something powerful: the understanding that suffering is a universal part of existence, and through it, we can come to a deeper understanding of our true selves. When we begin to see suffering not as a punishment but as an opportunity for growth, we unlock a new level of spiritual awareness. Pain becomes a signal, a message perhaps from the deepest parts of our soul. It is not an enemy but a guide, pointing us toward areas of our lives that require attention, change, or healing. Think of it this way. Just as a broken bone signals the body to rest and heal, emotional pain signals the soul to pause and heal. It is a sign that we are being stretched beyond our current limits, that we are being called to move in a different direction. When we experience emotional pain, whether from loss, disappointment, or unfulfilled desires, it is as if our soul is saying, "This part of you is no longer serving you. It is time to let go and grow." Just like the physical body needs time to heal after an injury, our emotional and spiritual selves require time to process pain and learn from it. This idea of pain as a signal can be a difficult one to accept, especially in a world that constantly pushes us to move faster, work harder, and avoid vulnerability. The instinct often is to ignore pain, to push it down, to mask it with distractions or achievements. Yet every time we do this, we delay the healing process. Just as a broken bone will only heal properly if given the right care and time, our emotional wounds require our attention. The pain we feel, though uncomfortable, can be the catalyst for a profound transformation. When we allow ourselves to truly feel the pain, to acknowledge it without judgment or fear, we create the space for healing to take place. This brings us to the metaphor of the storm. Pain, in this context, is like the storm that comes in the night, violent, unpredictable, and intense. It shakes us, forces us to confront our vulnerabilities, and leaves us drenched in uncertainty. But what happens after the storm? When the clouds finally break, the sun rises. The world seems clearer, the air fresher, and the earth more vibrant. The storm, though fierce and unsettling, has cleared the way for something new. Similarly, our suffering can be the storm that clears the path for personal transformation. It changes us. It reshapes us. It makes us stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Without the storm, there would be no dawn. Without the pain, there would be no growth. It is in the aftermath of suffering that we often find a deeper sense of purpose, a clearer vision of who we are, and a more profound connection to the world around us. Suffering, when viewed through this lens, becomes less of a burden and more of a teacher. It teaches us about resilience, about our ability to withstand the winds of life and emerge stronger on the other side. It teaches us about compassion, both for ourselves and for others. When we experience pain, we are reminded of the fragility of life, and in doing so, we develop a deeper empathy for others who suffer. Our own wounds, when tended to with care, become the sources of our greatest strength and compassion. Consider for a moment the people in your life who have faced great challenges. More often than not, it is those who have suffered deeply who possess the greatest wisdom, the greatest capacity for kindness, and the greatest understanding of what truly matters. Pain, in its transformative power, strips away the superficial and leaves only what is essential. It teaches us what is worth holding onto and what we must let go of. It clears the fog and gives us clarity. This is the paradox of suffering. It is through the very thing we fear most that we are invited to step into our greatest potential. It is through the storm that we find our way to the dawn. When we allow ourselves to experience suffering fully, without resistance or avoidance, we open ourselves to the profound possibility of change. And so, the next time you encounter pain, whether it's a small disappointment or a great loss, consider it a signal. Don't run from it. Don't try to bury it or distract yourself from it. Instead, embrace it as an opportunity to pause, to reflect, and to grow. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? What can I learn from this moment of discomfort? As we come to understand the nature of suffering, we come to realize that it is not an obstacle but a doorway to greater awareness, deeper connection, and the freedom that comes from embracing the full spectrum of life's experiences. Suffering, in this sense, is not the end. It is the beginning of awakening. Part 4. The Role of Impermanence. Life has a way of reminding us of its fleeting nature, even when we wish it would slow down. We hold onto moments, relationships, and achievements as if they could last forever, hoping that the certainty of the present will endure into the future. Yet deep down, we all know that life is in constant flux. Seasons change, people change, we change. Time moves forward, relentlessly and unpredictably, carrying everything in its wake. In Buddhist teachings, this truth is referred to as anicca, or impermanence, a foundational concept that acknowledges the transitory nature of all things. At first glance, impermanence can feel unsettling. We like the idea of stability. We crave certainty and predictability. The human mind seeks control, hoping to secure a place in the world where nothing shifts beneath our feet. But the reality is that nothing lasts forever. The joy we experience today may fade tomorrow, just as sorrow can lift when we least expect it. And that's not a flaw in the system. It's the way life is designed to work. The Buddha taught that the recognition of impermanence is not something to fear, but something to embrace. In fact, it is through understanding that nothing is permanent that we come to appreciate life more deeply. Just as the seasons shift from the cold of winter to the warmth of spring, our own lives experience ebbs and flows. The dark days we endure will eventually give way to brighter ones. The heartache, the grief, the struggles, they too shall pass. This is not a hollow promise, but a universal truth. Impermanence guarantees that nothing, not even our darkest moments, will last forever. But understanding impermanence is not just about acknowledging that good times end or that suffering passes. It's about recognizing that every moment is precious precisely because it won't last. The beauty of a sunset, the warmth of a loved one's embrace, the joy of a fleeting moment. These experiences are made more meaningful because they are temporary. We do not need to hold onto them tightly because they are already part of us, integrated into our being. The impermanence of life calls us to live fully in the present, to cherish what we have while it's here, and to release what we cannot control. The liberation that comes with letting go of attachments is one of the greatest gifts that understanding impermanence offers us. Our lives are often weighed down by the things we hold onto, relationships that no longer serve us, material possessions that we believe define us, or ambitions that trap us in the pursuit of goals that may never bring true happiness. The more we cling to these things, the more we tie ourselves to an illusion of permanence, an illusion that inevitably leads to suffering when those things are taken away, as they inevitably will be. Letting go is not an act of weakness, but of strength. It's not about resigning to life's inevitable changes, but about accepting them with grace. When we let go of the things that no longer serve us, we open ourselves to new experiences, new opportunities, and new relationships. We make room for growth, both spiritually and emotionally. It is through this process of releasing, of letting go, that we free ourselves from the chains of attachment and begin to experience the fullness of life. Consider the act of decluttering your home. When you release physical possessions that no longer hold value or purpose, you make space for new energy to flow. Your environment feels lighter, more open. The same is true with emotional baggage. When you let go of outdated beliefs, resentments, or expectations, you create space in your heart for new experiences and deeper connections. It's in the letting go that we find freedom. Not the freedom to escape our responsibilities or our past, but the freedom to be fully present in the now. This process is not without discomfort. Letting go can be painful. It can feel like losing a part of ourselves, like breaking free from something familiar and safe. But change, though often uncomfortable, is necessary for growth. If we are to evolve into the people we are meant to become, we must surrender to the flow of life. The caterpillar must let go of its old form in order to become the butterfly. The seed must be buried in the dark soil, allowing its roots to grow deep before it can burst through the earth and reach the light. Similarly, we must surrender to the changes that life brings, knowing that each transformation is an opportunity for personal growth. Surrendering to change is not an invitation to passively accept everything that comes our way, nor is it about giving up on our desires or goals. Rather, it's about understanding that change is inevitable and in many ways essential to our evolution. The more we resist change, the more we suffer. The more we try to hold onto things that are no longer aligned with our true selves, the more pain we create for ourselves. Surrendering doesn't mean losing control. It means accepting what is beyond our control and trusting that life will unfold as it is meant to. Embracing impermanence transforms how we approach both good and bad times. When life is going well, we can experience joy without the fear of losing it, knowing that its transitory nature makes it all the more precious. And when life is difficult, we can find solace in the knowledge that this too shall pass. Both joy and sorrow are temporary, but they each have something to teach us. Joy teaches us to be present and grateful. Sorrow teaches us to be resilient and compassionate. In the end, it's not the duration of our experiences that matters, but the depth of our engagement with them. By accepting that everything is temporary, we learn to embrace life more fully, without holding on to the past, without clinging to the future, and without fearing the present. We learn to live with open hands, ready to receive whatever comes and to let go when it's time. Understanding the role of impermanence in our lives is not a passive resignation to fate. It's a powerful shift in perspective that allows us to live more fully, more authentically, and more peacefully. It invites us to release the illusion of control, to trust in the natural flow of life, and to embrace the beauty that lies in every moment, whether it's a moment of joy or of sorrow. Ultimately, the liberation that comes with understanding impermanence is the freedom to live without fear. It's the freedom to experience life in all its richness, knowing that everything, even pain and suffering, is an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to connect with the deeper truth of who we are. Part 5. The importance of accepting emotions and imperfection. There's a prevailing belief in the world that to be loved, accepted, or worthy, one must be perfect. We chase the image of an ideal self, someone without flaws, someone who exudes confidence and grace, someone who never falters or feels weak. It's a compelling image, one that promises acceptance and approval, but it is an illusion. The truth is that perfection is not the measure of our worth. Acceptance and compassion are. In a world where so much of our value is often tied to our achievements, external validation, and the way we appear to others, it can be difficult to accept ourselves, especially in our moments of vulnerability and emotional struggle. We live in a culture that celebrates success, beauty, and strength, while pain, sadness, and imperfection are often hidden in the shadows, brushed aside as flaws to be corrected. But the journey toward healing and self-love starts with a simple yet profound act, accepting ourselves as we are, imperfections and all. This acceptance doesn't mean giving up or resigning ourselves to a life of misery. It doesn't mean ignoring the need for change or growth. Instead, it means acknowledging that we are enough just as we are, even in our darkest moments. It means recognizing that feeling sad, angry, or lost is part of being human, not a failure, but an experience to be embraced. It's through acceptance that we begin to heal, because only when we stop fighting our emotions can we truly understand them and, in turn, allow them to pass. When we accept ourselves fully, we create space for healing to begin. We stop denying the parts of us that are hurt, and instead we give ourselves permission to feel. In Buddhism, there is an important practice called mindfulness, being fully present with whatever arises in our experience without judgment. This practice teaches us to meet our emotions with compassion rather than resistance. When we face our sadness, disappointment, or fear with acceptance, we disarm the negative charge these emotions often carry. We allow them to simply exist, without labeling them as good or bad. And in doing so, we learn that they do not define us. They are passing moments like clouds in the sky, here today and gone tomorrow. Acceptance also means accepting that we don't have to be perfect to be loved. For years, many of us have been taught that love is something we must earn through achievement, through success, or by fitting a certain mold. We've been conditioned to believe that only the flawless, the strong, the outwardly perfect are worthy of love and respect. But this is a lie. The truth is that our worth is inherent. It's not something we can lose by making mistakes, experiencing pain, or showing vulnerability. Love, true love, is not based on perfection. It is based on presence, on being fully seen for who we are, with all our flaws, our struggles, and our wounds. We are worthy of love not because we are flawless, but because we are human. The love we seek, both from others and from ourselves, exists in the quiet moments of acceptance, when we recognize that we don't need to change to be worthy of affection, care, or kindness. The journey to self-acceptance is not an easy one, especially in a world that often demands us to be something we are not. But when we begin to accept ourselves, truly accept ourselves, we open up a space for deep healing. We stop running from our pain and instead, we sit with it. We learn to listen to our emotional struggles as we would listen to a dear friend who is in need of comfort. We offer ourselves the same compassion, the same understanding, the same love that we would offer to someone we care about deeply. When we extend this kindness to ourselves, we begin to see that we are worthy of love just as we are, imperfections and all. This process of self-acceptance is intertwined with the realization that we do not need to be perfect to be loved. It is through accepting our imperfections that we come to understand our true value. Our value is not tied to our ability to be flawless. It is tied to our capacity to be compassionate, to show kindness to ourselves and others, to be present in our moments of vulnerability. We don't have to perform or prove ourselves to be worthy of love. We only need to be present in our own experience, open to growth, and accepting of who we are right now. Our achievements, our accomplishments, the accolades we receive, these are all external markers of success, but they do not define who we are at our core. Our true worth lies in our ability to show up, to be real with ourselves, and to extend compassion even when we feel unworthy. The practice of self-compassion teaches us that even in our weakest moments, we are still worthy of love and respect. Even in our most imperfect states, we are whole. This acceptance of imperfection is not a call to remain stagnant or to stop striving for growth. It is simply a recognition that growth doesn't require perfection. Growth comes through embracing the process, through accepting where we are on the journey, and through understanding that each step, no matter how messy, is part of the beautiful unfolding of our lives. In this acceptance, we find freedom. We find that we no longer need to hide our flaws, our struggles, or our emotions. We can be open, vulnerable, and honest, knowing that we are enough just as we are. The more we embrace our imperfections, the more we realize that they are not something to be ashamed of. They are part of our story, part of what makes us unique. The moments when we feel broken, lost, or hurt are not signs of our inadequacy. They are signs of our humanity. And it is in this humanity, in our ability to feel deeply and to be vulnerable, that we find our strength. As we continue to practice self-acceptance, we begin to see ourselves not as flawed beings in need of fixing, but as whole and worthy individuals, deserving of love, compassion, and understanding. We learn to treat ourselves with the same care that we would offer to a beloved friend, acknowledging that we are enough in all our complexities, and that our worth is not tied to perfection, but to presence, kindness, and the willingness to grow. Part 6. discovering meaning in the present moment. We live in a world that constantly pushes us forward, urging us to keep moving, to achieve more, to plan for the future. From a young age, we are taught that meaning and fulfillment lie just beyond the horizon, waiting for us to arrive. We tell ourselves that once we get that promotion, buy the perfect house, or find the perfect partner, we will finally feel complete. We set goals, chase dreams, and accumulate achievements, all in the hope that one day, when we reach that distant place, we will find the meaning and happiness we've been searching for. But what if the myth of future fulfillment is exactly that? A myth. What if the relentless pursuit of meaning in the future only causes us to miss the richness and depth of the present moment? The search for meaning often sends us hurtling toward a distant goal, blind to the beauty that exists right in front of us. We become so focused on what's next, so consumed by what's to come, that we forget to appreciate what is. This isn't just a passing concern, it's a core issue that affects our daily lives. In our efforts to plan, achieve, and prepare for the future, we lose the essence of what life is truly about, the present moment. The truth is, life is happening right now, and meaning isn't something that lies in the future, waiting to be attained. It is something that exists in the here and now, in the moments we often overlook while rushing toward our next goal. The Buddhist philosophy speaks directly to this truth. According to the teachings of the Buddha, life's meaning is not something to be found at some distant point in time. It is something to be realized in every moment we experience. The present moment, with all its imperfections and fleeting nature, holds the key to understanding the true meaning of life. By embracing the present, by accepting it as sacred, we connect with a deeper sense of purpose that transcends future expectations and external achievements. In Buddhism, there is a practice known as mindfulness, the act of being fully present in each moment, without judgment or distraction. This practice encourages us to experience life exactly as it is, without trying to change or escape it. The present moment, according to this philosophy, is sacred. It is not something to be rushed through, nor is it something to be bypassed on our way to the next big thing. Each breath, each step, each thought is a part of the unfolding beauty of life, and each of these moments holds its own unique meaning. We often think that meaning will come only when we achieve something, when we finally arrive at the destination we've been striving toward. But in truth, the very act of striving can take us further away from the meaning we seek. In our efforts to reach a future point, we miss the moments that make life beautiful. The rush to achieve, accumulate, and complete can create a sense of emptiness, because meaning is not found in what we attain. It is found in how we experience the world around us in the present moment. Think of it like this. When we are constantly looking forward to the next milestone or the next achievement, we are like a traveler who never stops to enjoy the journey. We are so focused on the destination, so intent on reaching the end of the road, that we miss the beauty of the path itself. The flowers along the way, the people we meet, the small moments of joy, we walk right past them because we are too busy looking ahead. But when we pause, when we take a moment to appreciate the journey itself, we begin to realize that life is not about the destination, it is about the journey. It is about the experience of each moment, each breath, and each step. The present moment is a sacred space. It is the place where life unfolds, where our deepest truths are revealed, and where we are fully alive. When we learn to embrace the present, we begin to experience life with a richness and depth that cannot be found in the future. We stop searching for meaning in things that are yet to come, and instead we start finding meaning in the simple act of being. To reconnect with the present moment, we must practice slowing down. In a world that moves at a relentless pace, it can be difficult to simply stop and breathe. But it is in these moments of stillness that we begin to experience the fullness of life. One powerful way to reconnect with the present is through breath. Our breath is always with us, yet we rarely stop to notice it. It's a simple practice, but incredibly profound. Take a few minutes each day to sit quietly and focus on your breath. Breathe in deeply, allowing the air to fill your lungs. Breathe out slowly, letting go of any tension or distractions. As you do this, bring your full attention to the experience of breathing. Notice the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body, the rise and fall of your chest, the stillness within. This practice of conscious breathing helps anchor us in the present. It draws us out of the mental chatter that keeps us focused on the past or the future, and into the here and now. In this stillness, we begin to experience the world in a deeper, more meaningful way. We see things more clearly, we feel more deeply, and we appreciate the richness of life that has always been around us. Another practice to help reconnect with the present moment is to engage in simple, mindful activities. Whether it's taking a walk, eating a meal, or even washing the dishes, we can practice mindfulness by bringing our full attention to the task at hand. Instead of rushing through it, we slow down and fully immerse ourselves in the experience. We focus on the sensations, the sights, the sounds, and the feelings that arise in each moment. By doing this, we train our minds to be present, to experience life as it unfolds, without being distracted by what's next or what's past. The more we practice being present, the more we begin to realize that life's true meaning is not something to be chased. It is not something to be earned or achieved. It is found in the very act of living, of breathing, feeling, and being here right now. By slowing down, by breathing deeply, and by fully engaging with the present moment, we open ourselves to a deeper, more profound sense of purpose and fulfillment. In the end, the search for meaning is not a race to the future. It is a journey into the present. And in the present, we find everything we need. Life, in all its beauty and complexity, is waiting for us to experience it fully, right here, right now. It is in this sacred space of the present moment that we can truly discover the meaning of our existence. Part 7. The Transformation Through Sorrow. In the quiet corners of our lives, sorrow often lurks unexpected, heavy, and disruptive. The world encourages us to be strong, to avoid vulnerability, and to hide our pain beneath the surface. We are taught to push through, to smile in the face of adversity, and to never show weakness. But what if the very thing we fear the most, our sadness, our grief, our moments of emotional despair, is not a sign of weakness but an invitation to grow? What if sorrow, in all its heavy, disorienting forms, could be the very catalyst for our transformation? In Buddhist teachings, sorrow is not viewed as something to be avoided or dismissed. It is, in fact, considered an integral part of the human experience and a powerful force for personal growth. In a world that often equates happiness with success and sadness with failure, it is essential to understand that sorrow is not an enemy, but a teacher, a guide that leads us to deeper self-awareness and wisdom. Through sorrow, we are given the opportunity to explore the depths of our emotions, to confront the rawness of life, and to come face to face with the very things that shape us. In doing so, we become more human, more compassionate, and more connected to the universal truths that bind us all together. When we look at sorrow through the lens of Buddhist philosophy, we begin to see it as a natural and essential part of our spiritual journey. The Buddha himself spoke of suffering as the central aspect of human existence. He did not view suffering as something to be eliminated, but as something to be understood. According to the teachings of Buddhism, it is through suffering that we can break free from ignorance, attachment, and illusion. It is through sorrow that we develop the qualities of patience, compassion, and mindfulness. In this way, sorrow becomes not a burden but a path toward enlightenment. Far from being a mark of weakness, sorrow can be seen as a strength, an essential part of our emotional and spiritual resilience. The pain we feel in our darkest moments is not a reflection of our inability to cope, but rather a testament to our capacity to feel deeply. It is through these deep emotional experiences that we are given the chance to evolve and to become more whole, more fully alive. When we embrace our sorrow, we open ourselves up to the possibility of transformation. There is a profound strength in allowing ourselves to feel the full weight of our grief, our sadness, our pain. When we stop running from our emotions and face them head-on, we begin to understand their deeper message. Sorrow, though painful, holds invaluable lessons about the nature of life, about the impermanence of everything we hold dear, and about the importance of compassion, both for ourselves and for others. It teaches us that we are not defined by our struggles, but by how we respond to them. By embracing sorrow, we come to realize that it is not a permanent state. Just as the clouds pass and the sky clears, so too does sorrow eventually give way to peace. However, it is important to understand that peace does not come from avoiding pain or suppressing our emotions. True peace comes when we allow ourselves to fully experience and process the sorrow that arises within us. Only then can we let it go and make room for healing. This process of embracing sorrow requires courage. It requires us to let go of our desire to control everything, to relinquish the notion that we can somehow fix our pain. Instead, we must surrender to it, acknowledging that, at this moment, it is simply a part of who we are. When we stop fighting our emotions, we begin to find strength in their presence. We find that the act of being with our pain, without judgment or resistance, opens the door to a deeper peace. In this space, we discover an inner strength that is more profound than any external achievement or fleeting pleasure. Through sorrow, we learn to be more compassionate, not just with others, but with ourselves. We learn to treat our own pain with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a friend who is hurting. We stop labeling ourselves as weak or broken because we are sad, and instead, we honor our vulnerability as a sign of our humanity. We understand that being human means experiencing a full spectrum of emotions, from joy to sorrow, and that each emotion has something valuable to teach us. As we learn to embrace our sorrow, we also begin to develop a deeper sense of empathy for others. Our own experiences of pain make us more attuned to the suffering of those around us. We realize that, while each of us carries our own burdens, we are all connected through the shared experience of being human. In this way, sorrow becomes a bridge that connects us, a reminder that we are not alone in our struggles. But the transformation through sorrow is not only about developing empathy or emotional resilience. It is also about finding meaning in our suffering. Through sorrow, we come to understand that life is not just about the highs and the pleasures. It is also about the lows, the struggles, and the moments that challenge us to grow. In these moments of difficulty, we are offered the opportunity to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. We are given the chance to practice acceptance, to let go of attachment, and to cultivate gratitude for the things that truly matter. In Buddhist practice, one of the key teachings is the importance of mindfulness, being present with whatever arises in our experience, without judgment. This practice is especially powerful when it comes to dealing with sorrow. Rather than pushing away our feelings of sadness, we can embrace them with mindfulness. We can allow ourselves to feel the sorrow fully without trying to change it or escape from it. By doing so, we release the power that sorrow has over us. We stop seeing it as something to avoid and begin to see it as something to learn from. The wisdom that comes from sorrow is not immediate. It is earned through patience, acceptance, and the willingness to sit with our discomfort. But as we allow ourselves to truly experience our pain, we begin to see that it holds valuable lessons about the fragility and preciousness of life. It teaches us to value the moments of peace, joy, and love that we experience, knowing that they are fleeting. It reminds us that everything is temporary, and that the pain we feel today is part of the process of becoming who we are meant to be. Through the transformative power of sorrow, we learn that pain is not something to be feared or avoided, but something to be embraced. It is through our struggles that we are given the opportunity to grow, to become more compassionate, and to live more fully. By accepting and learning from our sorrow, we become stronger, wiser, and more connected to the world around us. Sorrow is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a new chapter. It is through our pain that we discover our true strength, our deep capacity for love, and our profound connection to the world. The key is not to run from sorrow, but to sit with it, learn from it, and let it transform us into the people we are meant to become. Part 8. Transforming Pain into Compassion. There is a powerful paradox at the heart of human experience. Our greatest suffering often carries the potential for our deepest growth. Pain, in its most raw and unfiltered form, is a universal experience, one that touches every life in ways both seen and unseen. It's something that none of us can avoid, yet it is also something that has the power to shape us, to transform us into something more profound, more compassionate. Through suffering, we can find the pathway not just to healing, but to a deeper connection with others, a bond that transcends the isolation we often feel in our darkest moments. At first, pain feels like an overwhelming force, a dark cloud that obscures everything. It isolates us, distorts our view, and forces us into a state of survival, where the only goal is to make it through the storm. But over time, as we begin to heal, a deeper lesson emerges, one that teaches us that pain is not merely something to endure, but something that can connect us to the greater web of human experience. Our pain can become the gateway through which we develop compassion, not only for ourselves, but also for those who are struggling in ways we may never fully understand. Compassion, in its purest form, is born out of suffering. It is in the trenches of our own emotional turmoil that we learn to see the suffering of others. When we endure our own pain, we come to recognize it in others. We stop seeing them as other and begin to see them as reflections of our own humanity. The pain we have experienced becomes a bridge, a point of connection rather than division. It softens our hearts and opens our eyes to the world in ways that nothing else can. The most compassionate people are often those who have suffered the most. This isn't a coincidence. Those who have been through hardship understand, perhaps better than anyone else, the complexity of human emotion, the fragility, the fear, and the resilience that exists side by side in every struggle. They know what it's like to feel broken and lost, and they know how it feels to rise from that place. And it is this intimate knowledge of suffering that allows them to show compassion without judgment, to offer a hand to others without hesitation. In Buddhism, the concept of compassion is central to the path of awakening. The Buddha's teachings emphasize the importance of cultivating compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. In Buddhist philosophy, compassion is not just an emotion, it is a way of being. It is the willingness to see the world through the eyes of others, to truly understand their pain, their fears, and their hopes. When we practice compassion, we are no longer trapped in our own suffering. We see ourselves as part of a larger, interconnected whole, where the pain of one is felt by all. One of the most powerful symbols in Buddhist teachings is that of the Bodhisattva, a being who has reached enlightenment but chooses to return to the world to help others. The Bodhisattva does not withdraw from suffering or seek to avoid it. Instead, they embrace it, understanding that true enlightenment is not found in escaping the world's pain, but in facing it with open eyes and a loving heart. The Bodhisattva's compassion is born from their own experience of suffering, which gives them the wisdom to help others navigate their own struggles. This is a profound teaching, that we can use our pain to help others, to become sources of light and healing in a world that can often seem dark and overwhelming. The Bodhisattva's journey is a model for us all. It shows us that the path to true healing does not lie in retreating from pain, but in transforming it into something beautiful, into compassion, understanding, and love. When we allow our suffering to guide us toward compassion, we begin to see the world differently. We stop focusing on the us and the them, and instead begin to see the shared humanity that binds us all together. Empathy, born out of shared pain, fosters connection and understanding in ways that words cannot. When we encounter someone who is suffering, it's not our advice or our attempts to fix their pain that truly helps. What helps is our ability to simply be with them in their suffering, to listen without judgment, and to offer our presence. In these moments, we realize that we don't need to have all the answers. We don't need to solve the problem. What's most important is that we show up with an open heart, willing to walk alongside them through their pain, just as we would want someone to do for us. There is something profoundly healing about simply knowing that you are not alone in your suffering, that someone else has been where you are and understands. This shared experience is the foundation of true compassion. It is the recognition that we are all in this together, that the pain we feel is part of a larger collective experience. In the end, it's not the fact that we have suffered that makes us stronger. It's what we do with that suffering. When we allow it to open our hearts and guide us toward compassion, we find meaning in the most unexpected places. One of the most beautiful aspects of compassion is its ability to transform not only those who receive it, but also those who give it. When we offer compassion to others, we experience a deep sense of fulfillment. It is as if the act of giving becomes an act of healing for ourselves. The more we give, the more we receive. This is the cyclical nature of compassion. It flows from one heart to another, and as it passes through us, it heals us too. So, as we look at our own suffering, we can choose to see it as a pathway, not just to healing for ourselves, but to healing for the world around us. We can choose to allow our pain to transform us, to deepen our capacity for empathy, to open our hearts to others in their time of need. We can become the bodhisattvas of our own lives, choosing in every moment to return to the world to help, to heal, and to offer love. In the end, compassion is not a lofty ideal or a distant goal. It is a living, breathing practice. It is something we can cultivate in every moment, through every interaction, through every challenge we face. By transforming our own pain into compassion, we not only heal ourselves but become instruments of healing for others. And in this way, we fulfill the true purpose of suffering, to deepen our understanding, to broaden our hearts, and to connect us to the shared human experience that unites us all. Part 9. The growth that comes from suffering. There's a profound and often overlooked truth about suffering. It is not a detour on the road of life, but rather the very path that leads us to our truest selves. In a world that constantly urges us to avoid pain and seek comfort, it is difficult to accept that suffering, in all its forms, has a vital role in our personal growth. Yet, when we look deeply into our experiences, we realize that some of the most transformative moments in life have come through hardship, through the pain that we feared and resisted. We tend to view suffering as a roadblock, an obstacle that hinders our progress and makes life harder than it should be. But what if suffering is not a setback at all? What if it is, instead, the foundation of our growth, a necessary part of the process that shapes us, molds us, and makes us who we are meant to be? Suffering doesn't make us weaker. It makes us stronger, more grounded, and more present. It opens us up to a depth of wisdom, an understanding that we could never attain without it. In fact, some of the greatest growth happens in the most painful moments. It's in those moments when we are brought to our knees, when we have no choice but to face ourselves and the world around us, that we begin to discover the true extent of our resilience, our capacity for love, and our ability to rise from the ashes of our struggles. Pain forces us to stretch beyond our limits, to confront parts of ourselves we may have ignored, and to step into the unknown with courage and determination. Just as a seed must crack open and struggle through the soil before it can bloom into a flower, we too must go through difficult periods before we can truly blossom. Consider the metaphor of the tree and the seasons. In the winter, the tree appears dormant, its branches are bare, its leaves have fallen, and it seems as though nothing is happening. But beneath the surface there is growth. The tree is preparing for the spring when it will bloom with new life. The harsh winter is not a sign of the tree's failure. It is a necessary part of its cycle. Without the cold, without the struggle, there would be no growth, no flourishing. We too must endure difficult times in order to grow. The challenges we face, the suffering we experience, are not signs that we are on the wrong path. They are the very things that prepare us for the beauty that is to come. Like the tree in winter, we may feel barren, lifeless, and lost at times. But these are the moments when we are being prepared for something greater. Just as spring follows winter, so too does growth follow suffering. When we allow ourselves to see suffering through this lens, we begin to understand that it is not an enemy, but a teacher. Pain doesn't have to be a wall that stops us. It can be a doorway that opens to deeper insights and greater understanding. The Buddhist teachings on suffering emphasize that pain is not something to run from, but something to embrace. It is through suffering that we learn the most about ourselves. When we face our pain, instead of avoiding it, we begin to uncover the layers of our soul, the parts of ourselves that are hidden beneath the surface. Suffering teaches us humility, patience, and compassion. It shows us the fragility of life and the preciousness of every moment. It reminds us that we are not invincible, that we are all vulnerable, and that we are all connected in our shared humanity. In embracing suffering, we open ourselves to greater compassion for others. We begin to see that everyone, in their own way, is struggling. Everyone is carrying a burden. And when we can sit with our own pain and allow ourselves to heal, we can extend that same compassion to those around us, offering them the same grace and understanding that we have given ourselves. But embracing suffering doesn't mean accepting it passively or allowing it to define us. It means seeing suffering for what it truly is, a temporary experience that holds valuable lessons. When we let suffering be our teacher, we learn how to navigate the storms of life with wisdom and resilience. We learn that, while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond. We can choose to see suffering as an opportunity for growth, an invitation to learn, and a chance to become the person we are meant to be. The path to growth through suffering is not always easy. It requires us to be patient with ourselves, to allow ourselves time to heal, and to trust in the process. But when we embrace the lessons that suffering offers, we find that we emerge from it stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. We begin to see that suffering is not something to be feared, but something to be welcomed, for it is through suffering that we are shaped into the people we are meant to become. In the end, the greatest growth happens not in the absence of pain, but in our ability to rise above it, to transform it, and to use it as a stepping stone towards something greater. Suffering is not a roadblock to happiness. It is the very thing that allows us to appreciate the beauty of life. Without the dark, we would never know the light. Without the winter, we would never experience the spring. So when you find yourself in the midst of pain, remember that you are not alone. Remember that suffering is not the end, but the beginning of your transformation. Embrace it, learn from it, and allow it to guide you toward a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. Through suffering, you will discover your true strength, your deep well of compassion, and your capacity for growth. And in doing so, you will emerge not just healed, but whole, stronger, wiser, and more alive than ever before. Part 10. Returning to ourselves. In the journey of life, sadness often arrives uninvited, unexpected, and unwelcome. It is an emotion that can pull us into the depths of despair, cloud our thoughts, and make the world feel heavy and burdensome. At first, we resist it, try to run from it, or mask it with distractions. We wish for it to pass quickly, hoping to return to the comfort of happiness and peace. But what if the very thing we seek to avoid, sadness, is the key to returning to our truest selves? When sadness is fully accepted, it does not remain a burden. Instead, it becomes a doorway. The sadness we experience when met with open arms strips away the false layers we have built around ourselves. It reveals the truth of who we are beneath the masks of perfection, achievement, and expectation. It brings us back to the essence of our being, where beauty, strength, and wisdom reside. In our sadness, we are reminded of our humanity, our vulnerabilities, and our capacity to feel deeply. There is something profoundly transformative about this process. When we allow ourselves to experience sadness without judgment or resistance, we begin to peel away the layers that we have accumulated over time. The walls we have built to protect ourselves from hurt, the facades we have put up to fit in or to appear strong. Sadness, in its rawness, uncovers the truths we have hidden from ourselves. It brings us face to face with our deepest fears, desires, and longings, and in doing so, it offers us the opportunity to heal and to grow. In accepting sadness, we return to a place of authenticity. We stop pretending to be someone we are not, stop hiding behind a mask of emotional strength or perfection. Instead, we allow ourselves to be fully human, embracing both our light and our shadows. We remember that it is not only our triumphs but our struggles that define us. It is in our most vulnerable moments, when we are most open to pain, that we connect with the core of who we truly are. Sadness does not diminish us. It enhances our capacity for compassion, self-understanding, and empathy. The final gift of sadness is its ability to bring us back to ourselves. It clears the clutter, removes the distractions, and shows us the path to self-acceptance. The sadness that once felt like a curse becomes a teacher, guiding us toward a deeper understanding of life's impermanence and our place in it. It teaches us that it is okay to feel, to grieve, and to mourn. And in that acceptance, we discover the beauty of being fully present, of being deeply connected to our emotions without fear or shame. This journey of returning to ourselves is not a smooth or straightforward path. It is not a perfect road without challenges. The path to awakening is filled with moments of light and darkness, joy and pain. But it is through these contrasts that we learn and grow. The Buddhists call it the middle way, finding balance between the extremes of excess and deficiency. Awakening is not about eliminating suffering or avoiding pain. It is about embracing both sides of the human experience. It is about living fully, with all the contradictions, complexities, and imperfections that come with being human. Awakening, in its truest sense, is the ability to be present with every aspect of life. It is the wisdom to understand that both joy and sorrow are part of the same journey, that light and dark are not opposites but complementary forces. By embracing all of life's experiences, we come to understand that neither happiness nor sadness is permanent. Both are fleeting, and both carry valuable lessons. When we accept the ebb and flow of emotions, we free ourselves from the pressure of needing to feel better all the time. We realize that every emotion, every experience, is a step on the path toward deeper wisdom. The power of stillness plays a crucial role in this journey. In a world that is constantly moving, constantly demanding our attention and energy, it is easy to become distracted, to chase after external achievements in the hopes of finding meaning. But true meaning does not lie in accomplishments or material success. It lies in the quiet moments, in the stillness where we can listen to the whispers of our hearts. In stillness, we can hear the deeper truths that guide us, truths that are often drowned out by the noise of the world. Stillness is not about retreating from life or avoiding challenges. It is about finding peace amidst the chaos, allowing ourselves to simply be without the pressure of doing. It is in this space of stillness that we can reconnect with our inner selves, where we are reminded of the truths that are always there, waiting to be acknowledged. It is through stillness that we find clarity, and it is in stillness that we come to understand that the answers we seek are not outside of us but within. The practice of returning to stillness doesn't require grand gestures or dramatic changes. It can be as simple as taking a few moments each day to pause, breathe, and reflect. It can be found in the quiet moments between tasks, in the stillness of nature, or in the space between thoughts. By incorporating stillness into our daily lives, we create the opportunity to reconnect with ourselves, to find peace not in the external world but in the present moment. When we learn to listen to our feelings instead of running from them, when we embrace the sadness and the joy, when we allow ourselves to simply be in the moment, we unlock a deeper sense of peace. It is not peace that comes from avoiding life's difficulties, but from facing them with an open heart. By embracing both the light and the dark, we return to our truest selves, discovering that meaning and fulfillment are found not in the pursuit of external achievements, but in the act of being present with ourselves and the world around us. In the end, the path to awakening is not about reaching some distant point of perfection. It is about embracing the process of living with all its messiness and beauty. It is about returning to the simplicity of being, of accepting ourselves fully, and of finding peace in the present moment. Through stillness, through the acceptance of both our joys and our sorrows, we return to our true essence, and in doing so, we discover the deep peace and wisdom that lie at the core of our being. So, let us not seek meaning in distant goals or external validation. Let us return to stillness, to the quiet whispers within, and embrace the fullness of life in all its beauty, imperfection, and truth. Through this practice, we not only find ourselves, we awaken to the profound richness of being alive. As we reach the conclusion of this journey, it is essential to reflect on the profound insights we've gained from exploring the intricate relationship between suffering, growth, and self-realization. Life, as we've discovered, is not a linear path of constant joy and comfort. It is a dynamic interplay of light and shadow, of happiness and pain, of growth and stagnation. Our pain, which we often resist or try to avoid, is not a flaw in our existence but an intrinsic part of our human experience that can lead us toward profound transformation. The narrative we've traversed teaches us that the challenges we face, no matter how daunting or overwhelming, are not simply obstacles to be overcome, but essential elements of the path that shape who we are. The darkness of sorrow, the weight of grief, the uncertainty of despair all serve a higher purpose: to awaken us to the truth of our own existence, to teach us resilience, compassion, and to push us toward a deeper understanding of life itself. Our exploration into the nature of suffering has illuminated an essential truth. Suffering, while unavoidable, is not our enemy. It is the very thing that pushes us to confront our deepest fears, to look within, and to question what it means to be truly alive. Suffering is not something to be avoided or denied. It is a gateway to self-awareness and spiritual growth. Just as the lotus blooms from the mud, we too can rise from our struggles and transform our pain into something beautiful, something meaningful. Through suffering, we learn that it is not the absence of pain that defines our happiness, but our ability to face and transcend it with grace and understanding. We learn that embracing our sorrow is not an act of submission or weakness, but an act of immense courage. By facing our pain instead of running from it, we reclaim our power. We begin to see that pain is not a punishment, it is a teacher. It reveals to us what we need to heal, what we need to release, and what we need to accept about ourselves. As we confront our suffering, we come face to face with our vulnerabilities, our fears, and our attachments. But in doing so, we unlock the potential for deep, transformative healing that is not possible if we keep running or hiding from the discomfort. Through the concept of impermanence, we learn that nothing in life stays the same. Our joy, our sadness, our successes, and our failures are all transient. This understanding doesn't lead to a sense of hopelessness, but to a deeper appreciation for the present moment. The recognition that both good and bad times are temporary allows us to live more fully, to experience the richness of life as it unfolds, without clinging to the past or worrying about the future. By embracing the impermanence of all things, we find peace in the knowledge that everything is constantly changing, and with that change comes new opportunities for growth and renewal. The journey also led us to understand that true meaning is not something we can chase or attain in the future. The search for meaning often leads us to overlook the beauty and depth of the present moment. By shifting our perspective and embracing the present as sacred, we open ourselves to a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment. Meaning is found not in the pursuit of external achievements, but in our ability to be fully present with ourselves, our emotions, and the world around us. In our exploration of the transformative power of sorrow, we saw that pain, when fully embraced, becomes the catalyst for compassion. Suffering, both our own and that of others, connects us. It creates a bridge between our hearts, enabling us to understand, empathize, and support those around us. As we grow through our struggles, we learn to offer compassion not only to others but also to ourselves. Compassion, born from our own pain, becomes a force that heals, connects, and uplifts us all. And finally, we arrived at the understanding that true awakening comes when we stop resisting life's challenges and begin to embrace them with open arms. The path to awakening is not one of perfection, it is a path of acceptance. It is the ability to face both the light and the dark, the joy and the pain, and still move forward with an open heart. Awakening is not an escape from life's difficulties. It is a deeper understanding of them, a recognition that every experience, every emotion, is part of our journey toward greater self-awareness and inner peace. The profound lesson and its application in our lives. From this journey, one of the most profound lessons we learn is that suffering is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. It is through our pain that we gain insight into our true nature. It is through our struggles that we cultivate empathy, compassion, and resilience. By accepting our emotions, both the joy and the sorrow, we return to a place of authenticity, where we can fully experience life, not as a series of isolated moments, but as an interconnected, ever-evolving process. In applying this lesson to our own lives, we are encouraged to shift our perspective on pain and suffering. Instead of avoiding or running from difficult emotions, we are invited to face them with courage and understanding. This doesn't mean that we should seek out suffering or that we should glorify pain. Rather, it means that we must accept it when it comes, knowing that it is part of our human experience and that it has the potential to teach us something valuable. The practice of mindfulness, being fully present with our emotions without judgment, allows us to engage with life in a way that brings clarity and peace. We no longer see pain as something that disrupts our lives, but as a teacher that opens us to deeper wisdom. When we allow ourselves to experience sorrow without pushing it away or numbing it, we begin to understand that it is not our pain that defines us, but our response to it. In embracing our emotions, we reclaim our power and our ability to transform. This shift in perspective is not just a spiritual concept, it is a practical one. In our daily lives, we can begin to apply these lessons by embracing each moment, both the painful and the joyful, with open awareness. By letting go of the need for perfection, we allow ourselves to be fully human, to experience life in all its depth, and to grow from every challenge. Share your thoughts. As you reflect on these teachings, how do you view the role of suffering in your life? Have you ever experienced a moment of pain that led to profound personal growth? How do you approach challenges now, knowing that they hold the potential for transformation? I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below, as your perspective could offer valuable insights to others on their own journeys. Let's engage in a dialogue where we can learn from each other and continue to grow together. If this journey resonates with you and you would like to continue exploring these profound teachings, please subscribe to Buddhism in every moment. Your support not only helps the channel grow, but also encourages us to create more content that can inspire and guide others toward healing, awakening, and living fully in the present. Your subscription empowers us to continue bringing you deeper insights and transformative wisdom. Thank you for being a part of this journey, and may you find peace, growth, and compassion on your path.